Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about. Former President Donald Trump can exert executive privilege. He was never indicted in a court of law. They never proved that he committed a crime because he didn't. And this is yet another stunt by Democrats who at first said that he colluded with a foreign country. Then they said he engaged in campaign finance violations. Then they said he was a criminal in New York, but the New York case is a civil case. So they don't have anything on Trump, and now they want a grand jury to learn about conversations that he had in the Oval Office when he has every right to exert executive privilege. So Trump's secret court fight to stop grand jury from getting information from his inner circle. We'll get to all the presidents that exerted executive privilege for controversies that were linked to their specific decision making, okay? Policies within their administration or serious legal quagmires that they were in. Second coming, hello to my super chat, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Paul Bartlett, second coming. Thank you so very much. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Your super chat support is so important. Thank you so much. I have a segment today out on H.A. Goodman's other channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. Definitely also, in addition to those new segments, subscribe there. They're doing very well, actually, for the size of the channels. I have a short coming out, I believe, tomorrow about the contempt and disdain for Trump. And so the short with the Honorable Director Comey is at over 10,000 views now. That's pretty good. And the short with me benching 110-pound dumbbell press is at it's doing, relatively well. I mean, I don't know. I'm just honored that, a certain amount of people are interested in watching me lift weights. So that's pretty cool. But, ladies and gentlemen, watch the short. It's coming out tomorrow. And definitely please subscribe and watch the latest segment today on H.A. Goodman's other channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. The first segments on both of those channels that I've done in a while. Second coming, thank you. D-Rock, thank you for watching for so long. Greatly appreciated from the very beginning. D-Rock, thank you. Paul Bartlett, thank you so very, very much. Crazy Oliver, hello. Everybody here, hello. Ronald, hello. Let's get started. So, exclusive Trump's secret court fight to stop grand jury. And to my super chat again, thank you. I can't do this without you. If you enjoy these live streams, your support is greatly appreciated. Second coming, I cannot thank you enough. And Paul, as always, you're always so wonderful. Paul, thank you. Former President Donald Trump. Attorneys are fighting a secret court battle to block a federal grand jury from gathering information from an expanded circle of close Trump aides about his efforts to... Okay. He went through the legal system. That's why they're waiting until a couple of weeks before November. They're waiting until a couple of weeks before midterms. We are, about 5 weeks away, okay, from early November midterms. They never had anything on Trump. And they only had a grand jury. They have an investigation. So they've had numerous grand juries with Trump. They've yet to find enough evidence to indict. They are never going to stop trying until they get booted out, until Trump Republicans kick them out of Congress, which will happen in about a month. That's why you should hit subscribe to this channel. We're about 1,000 away, ladies and gentlemen, from 200,000 subs. And I'm going to have a 200,000 subscriber live stream thanking everybody. If you're watching right now, I got to thank you. Because your support, hitting subscribe, I don't have bells and whistles. I mean, it was just relatively recently, I think this year, that I started actually utilizing OBS to log on to the internet while I'm doing live streams. Okay, then maybe like late last year. Before it was just it was just me. If you remember, these live streams were just me talking and you staring at me for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I would just be talking into the camera. And so now I'm slowly, actually stepping up my game a bit, with shorts and with using OBS somewhat. And but there's no bells and whistles in this channel. It's just me and my analysis, which has been pretty spot on, ladies and gentlemen. I've been telling people that the economy is going to tank. Lance Miller, hello. Crazy Oliver, yes, Sticks X and Hammer's awesome. I appreciate his shout out and thank you. Yeah, I've been watching Tim Pool, Sticks X and Hammer, Black Conservative Patriot, so many people online for a while, for years now, and they're all wonderful. Anthony Brian Logan is wonderful. Liberal Hive Mind is wonderful. I mean, there's so many great. I watch Ben Shapiro. I watch Steven Crowder. I mean, there's a lot of people on. There's a lot of people. Mark Dice. There's a lot of people who are. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. But I gotta definitely thank Sticks for the shout out. If I was told that he gave me a shout out, so thank you, Sticks. And also, Black Conservative Patriot is amazing as well. In addition to Sticks and a bunch of other channels, Tim Pool is fantastic. Also, he really is. I'm very very happy for his success, and he deserves it. He deserves it, and we need there's a wonderful couple, um, Brett and Heather Weinstein. They're fantastic. I mean, definitely subscribe to their channel, Dark Horse Podcast. They're absolutely awesome. Russell Brand is awesome. I mean, he has been famous for decades, but he is a fantastic, brilliant individual. Along with the people I mentioned. So there's a lot of people on YouTube that voice their viewpoint and go against the grain. Hidden for Time. Thank you, Hidden for Time. Go HA. Thank you so very much. That's the thing, it's interesting when you go against the grain. You're usually right. And lately, if you are a bit if you engage in critical thinking skills and you ask yourself very basic questions about the prevailing paradigm in media or politics, there's a pretty good chance you're on the right side of history. Hidden for Time, thank you so very very much as always. Thank you. Thank you, Hidden for Time. I hope all is well, and thank you for watching for so long. And thank you for your generosity. Thank you. But I mean, it's interesting because there's two schools of thought. The YouTubers I just mentioned, um, the YouTubers I just mentioned go against the grain oftentimes, or they give very unique analysis, and they're not worried about tribalism or groupthink. They're not worried about tribalism or groupthink, and they can actually decipher doublespeak, and they can filter through the manipulation of language. Democrats need to redefine words. They need to utilize euphemisms. They need to latch on to the next social movement or global movement to protect the planet, for example, because this gives them a feeling of being virtuous. Unfortunately, when you had, I believe, Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan telling one of the most liberal member or left-leaning members of Congress that it would be the road to you know where, a place with no air conditioning, if we just did away with fossil fuels and didn't fund any. And then they bring up the International Energy Agency. It's like, what? We should focus on what is good for this country at all times. This is like that's a good thing with Trump. Like you need multinational organizations, you need alliances. Those are great things, fine, but you don't worship them. The whole point of being in an alliance is because it helps you. I forgot. This is a game theory. I forgot exactly. Alliances exist because um, the people that join the alliance are doing so because it helps their own national interest. But there comes a point where if you're consistently the most powerful person in any organization, or the most powerful individual, or the most powerful corporation, or the most influential and powerful country, and you being in that organization benefits others, but it might not necessarily benefit you, then you should probably rethink. You should probably rethink membership. And so that's what Trump, that's why the reason that they despise Trump, and I have a short coming out tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. It should be tomorrow on the absolute contempt, not just bias, that Michael Horowitz will be speaking in this short, and he actually highlights the absolute contempt and disdain for Trump. The absolute contempt and disdain for Trump, and they never quote him. They only quote him saying, "Oh, well, there was no documentary or testimonial bias, and therefore, it was predicated on good cause." It's like, well, that's not true at all. The double speak. There is no documentary or testimonial bias for investigating Trump. Yes, Peter Strzok and the Honorable James Comey and all of them were not going to sign a document saying we're going to set up and frame Trump. Signed all the top level management at the Bureau. It was never ever going to happen. You're also not going to get documentary testimony either, or testimonial either. Done. HA, when you hear celebrities like actors, sports players, or singers start on Trump, how do you filter that? I mean, there's two ways. Don, thank you. Gulamakis, thank you so very, very much. Don, the best thing to do is if you can remove their warped and twisted, oftentimes absurd, hysterical or apoplectic viewpoints from their work, from their artwork, or from their athletic performances, try to do that. Even for me, it's tough to watch De Niro, but you know what? I'll watch Casino, or I'll watch Goodfellas, because I mean, some movies I'll watch. The Godfather, because even though De Niro is on the wrong side of history in terms of politics and probably doesn't know much about politics. I've never heard him debate a specific issue. He's an amazing actor, and so it would be a shame to not allow yourself to enjoy Casino or Goodfellas, or whatever movie he's in. But at the end of the day, always remember that their opinions are worthless. They're completely irrelevant. Richard, taxi driver, yeah, Caroline, hello. Their opinions are pretty much worthless. Don, hidden for time, thank you again. I mean, there's really no need to. There was one actress, I'm not going to mention her name, but she was basically saying, "Oh, it's difficult for me to forgive my family for liking Trump." Like, what? I mean, what kind of arrogance, hubris, narcissism? You're going to forgive somebody for a political viewpoint that in many ways can be, in many ways is morally superior to the Democratic viewpoint of recession and invasion in Europe. This happened because of Democratic policies. I'm not going to get too into it. Red Dawn is fantastic. Red Dawn's a great movie. Hedy Lamarr. It's a great movie. Wolverines! It's a great movie. But that's actually that's actually the what Democrats think was going to take place when Trump was in the Oval Office. But no, it's like Polynesian groups. Hello, you should always try your best not to let politics influence your ability to enjoy life. Also, I will say, Don and everyone here, Hidden for Time, everyone here, do not debate politics. Do not talk about politics with anyone for the next 2 to 4 years, probably 4 years. Okay, because you have 2 years. Hopefully, Trump gets back in the Oval Office, and if he does, I mean, who knows how they're going to react. The entire American political establishment system, Hollywood, late night, other countries will try to stop this man. They don't want record low unemployment. They don't want 2% inflation. They don't want economic growth. We had record low poverty and we had record highs in household median income. First, last, Night Court. That's an old school one. That was a great sitcom. First, last, thank you. These people are like with actors, Don and Hidden for Time, with actors, and Paul, everybody here, their job is to pretend that they care or that they show emotion. Their job is to actually fabricate emotion, which is what the Democratic Party is good at. The job of an actor is to manufacture and fabricate emotion. They're faking everything. So when they say, like, I'm an activist, it's like, well, there's probably like, there's only one civil rights movement. There will only be one Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., only one Medgar Evers, only one Muhammad Ali, only one Jim Brown, only one, um, you know, icon, people, person who stood up and spoke the truth and stood up against a very flawed and, sinister system. And that moment in time, it cannot be duplicated. So if you want to be an actor or an athlete in 2021, you want to they weren't people in the 60s, the civil rights icons of the 60s weren't getting shoe deals. They weren't getting shoe deals, okay? They literally risk their lives every day, and oftentimes, unfortunately, their lives were taken by the most evil people and by the most evil system, by the way, that Democrats now worship. But so I think there's this effort to recreate. When people say like, "Oh, I'm an activist," like, well, okay, are you a millionaire actor first? And then down the list, you're an activist, or are you an activist willing to perhaps take on the Democratic Party? Because if you're an activist against poverty, for example, or against inequality, well, where are the geographical regions in the country that are the poorest? And what political party demands allegiance? Just ask yourself that. Okay, when Democrats talk about, like, I remember one of the they were talking about this Democratic politician was talking about frontline communities. Okay, how are the frontline communities doing in Biden's America? They're doing good. They're doing better than when we had Trump with record low unemployment, record low poverty levels. We had a record low in poverty in 2019, a recorded low. There was never, it wasn't lower since 1959. They recorded They had the poverty rate is 10%. Okay, now we have 15% poverty, and it's rising. Now you have 15% poverty, and it's rising. So these people, Don and everybody here, and Hidden for Time, and to my super chat, thank you. These people are like so like, oh yeah, if you like Trump, like they've created. See, I actually watched Hannity's. Interview of Trump with, one of the most beautiful people in the world who isn't really fond of Trump, especially wasn't that day. Because everybody in the news was saying, oh, he's being sued. It was a civil case. Nobody can see through that. But Love Trucks, hello. This person couldn't stand Trump in the day. Eventually had to watch, Hannity with me, or just watched Hannity with me, and had a completely different viewpoint of Trump. A completely different viewpoint of Trump. The people nobody listens to this man for more than a soundbite. Nobody listens to Donald Trump in American politics for more than a soundbite. And that's sad. Because he needs to actually, they have tried to remove his humanity from him. He's no longer a human being. He's this wrecking ball. He's a menace to the system. The system stinks. The system had to be reformed, and Trump did his best to reform the system, but never Trump Republicans didn't want that. Mitch McConnell doesn't want that. So you don't worry about actors and comedians. Like, you can type in, we have a recession. We have a nuclear confrontation in Europe. We have poverty increasing. We're going to go into layoffs. We're going to go into serious financial hardship. And this, when you type in Biden, you get the 7 Democrats most likely to run for president if Biden bows out the Hill. CNN, Biden surprises Elton John with National Humanities Medal at the White House. Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Washington Post, Elton John flabbergasted and teary after Biden surprises him with medal. Oh, wow, what a fantastic person the Democrats are. Oh, what's this? Recession. You're starting to see classic signs that we're in a recession. Dow drops 500 points. Fed is expecting recession. Recession fears mount as stocks fall sharply. Oh, what's this? Nuclear confrontation, and they still downplay it. New York Times. What Vladimir's nuclear threat means for the Ukraine and the U.S. If it was Trump, it would be Trump bringing us on the brink of Armageddon. Trump, Trump, oh my God, you voted for him. You voted for the end of the world. Trump, 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 no. BBC News. Vladimir's not bluffing about nuclear, EU says. The Washington Post. I mean, honestly, Vladimir probably wouldn't drop one, but words are bad. Oh my God. You cannot even make this up. You cannot even make this up. You can't make it up. You can't make up not only the double standard, the alternate universe they want you to believe exists. The alternate universe. American society, the country itself, our standing in the world is crumbling before our very eyes. It's not an opinion. This is not even an opinion. Go look. Poverty is increasing. The one reason, listen, the one selling point to being a Democrat, there's really only one, because none of the other policies from the Second Amendment to, you see what's taking place in Martha's Vineyard. They're like, Military, help us! Um, the one selling point is that you're compassionate enough to care about poor people. That is the major. You love social safety nets because it helps the poor, and you want to help. And you could be poor too. It's true. Anyway, yes, you need. I agree with that. You need social safety nets. Poverty is a bad thing. You should not have that. That's why Trump. You should vote for Trump. It's a moral imperative. We shouldn't worry about a multinational organization, what they say about reducing the temperature of the planet, because other countries are not going to commit and are not going. They're going to put economic growth first. They're meanwhile, while the United States suffers into a long-term recession because maniacs think that the future of the planet rests upon Democrats imposing their flawed and failed policies while they flood strategic petroleum reserves. Where was that in the Green New Deal? Where are the wonderful experts? Climate change is important and it's real, but where are these experts talking about Biden's strategic petroleum reserves? Is that okay? Is that all right? Suddenly, no. These people are like vegans that are chomping on cheeseburgers, telling you that you should be a vegan and how you're immoral as they're like chomping on a cheeseburger, telling you about the virtues of being a vegan. I mean, they don't even know the word hypocrisy. Like some, civilizations, they don't have a word for something. These Democrats, they don't have a word for hypocrisy. It used to be called hypocrisy. Now it's called whataboutism. And it's a shield. It's a verbal shield for them. You can actually bring up. You can actually bring up. You can actually bring up the hypocrisy, and they're impervious to it. They're absolutely impervious to it. They don't even like it. It is impossible for them to look in the mirror. It is impossible. Nina, hello. Lisa, hello. Jane, hello. They simply can't look into the mirror. Because if they look in the mirror, they'll see, okay, there's Hunter, there's Biden flooding strategic, there's a recession, there's geopolitical nightmare. What is it? I just don't know. What is it about Biden's administration that's good, aside from him not being Trump at all times? The one thing they could say about mashed potato brains Joe is that he's not Trump and he never will be. And every second that this administration exists, they are actually not Trump. So that's like the beauty of having a recession and nuclear, confrontation and all that is like, that's all mitigated by the fact that every single second they're reminded that Trump is not in the Oval Office. So every single second when he was, every single second that he was like a horrible nightmare, like a Nightmare on Elm Street moment for them. So, but mashed potato brains isn't running again, which is very bizarre. I thought that he was like, well, we won't get into that, but you're starting to see the early signs. The Fed is expecting a recession because it helped plunge us into one with by ignoring inflation and raising interest rates. How do you ignore inflation in 2021? How do you ignore inflation and hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel? I have a segment out today, and hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a very important segment out today. And definitely watch the shorts on this channel. And also, I have a short coming out, a really awesome short tomorrow. You will love it. You will love this short because the shorts work for me. But a lot of the times, like when I'm making a point, I don't often play the clip of a government official talking on when I do the live stream. Or even during the upload, because there's always an issue with, like, there's just always some issue. There's just always an issue. Not every single time, but I don't even want to deal with it. So, I mean, and that's why, I'm slow to 200,000, but I play it like super, super, super safe. But with the shorts, I've been told, just go all out and enjoy yourself. And, you can use the words of government officials. And so these government officials, um, they do all the talking for me, and they prove my point. I mean, they're pretty much telling you, like, when the Honorable James Comey, and watch, the short is at like 200,000, 10,000 viewers already. When Comey in the short that I have on this channel says, well, no, although there's violations of the legal statutes, ladies and gentlemen, although there's violations of the legal statutes, no reasonable prosecutor would indict. So, well, he just explained that, yes, there were violations of legal statutes. He just explained that. He just stated that some people essentially are above the law, but we're not going to indict. And so, Steelers freak, thank you. And it's like you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you have a situation where government officials, what they do. Jane from the country, hello Jane. Thank you so much as always. Thank you so very, very much as always for being so supportive. Jane from the country, thank you. And for watching this channel always. Thank you, Jane. Greatly, greatly. Do my super chat. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I can't do it without you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I can't do it without you. So, Jane, thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Well, the thing they do is they hide in plain sight. Okay? They hide in plain sight, which means they're going to tell you, you know what? We couldn't find any prosecutorial or documentary bias. So I explain, and this is exactly why half the country will focus on Trump and not on the half the country will focus on Trump and not on the recession that we have. So we have a recession, terrible geopolitics, and what they'll do is they'll focus on everything but what's actually taking place. Because you'll have an inspector general saying, "Oh, well, we didn't find any bias," and then he'll go and list endless bias and contempt and disdain for Trump. And he'll give examples of specific agents going after him, saying we will stop him. And that will be in the shortcoming. It's in his own testimony. It's actually a Trey Gowdy and Michael Horowitz back and forth. And the Inspector General Horowitz is very honest. Oh, yeah, I think it actually means that these people wanted to stop him. But he said there was no documentary or testimonial. What does documentary or testimonial mean within the context of a bureaucracy? Have you ever worked in a corporation? Have you ever filled out paperwork for the DMV? Or for healthcare issues or what? A bureaucracy demands a lot of a bureaucracy runs with a great deal of paperwork and with people in various positions of authority making decisions to either further a course of action or to reverse a course of action. It's meant to be efficient. A bureaucracy is meant to be efficient, but you can also hide a lot of really sinister things in that bureaucracy. Or you can use your bureaucratic post to engage in a lot of foul play. Okay? You see it all the time in corporations. You see it all the time. And so the Michael Horowitz were kind of getting a little bit away from what the live stream is about pertaining to Trump and executive privilege, and we'll get to that in a second. But Michael Horowitz, the inspector general, didn't say that there was no contempt and disdain. He didn't say there wasn't any bias. He said there was bias, but that he couldn't find how that bias influenced the prosecutors because he couldn't find any documentary or testimonial bias that influenced the prosecutors. Well, you are not going to find that in any bureaucracy. You're not going to find Enron executive. They didn't get Enron because the executives that tanked the company wrote in a document they were about to tank the company, or testified before the corporation went under that, oh yeah, that they were fabricating the profit margin, or that they were fabricating the accounting. You're not going to get documentary or testimonial evidence. That's the whole point. That's the doublespeak that you have to look through. But if you filter through that, all you had was endless bias. And so they couldn't stand Trump. And it's not the Democratic Party. I've said this a number of times. It's not media. It's not the Democratic Party. It's Republicans, never Trump Republicans, people like Kinzinger and Cheney and Paul Ryan, people who would much rather have a good president fail within their own political party simply because he does things a little bit differently from the traditional way of doing things in D.C. They would rather have had Trump fail. Republicans would rather have had Trump kneecapped with endless investigations than Luke St. Martin, hello, than a president that was successful, in every, like, without having to deal with endless investigations. They didn't. If they had backed up Donald Trump, we wouldn't have had they wouldn't have lost the congressional contest. They might have retained the Oval Office. They probably would have done better in the 2018 midterms. I mean, you had the Mueller probe that a Republican Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, allowed. I mean, you couldn't set up there's no president that's ever been this badly treated. I mean, and then the rebuttal is, well, he deserved it. Why did he deserve it? He was set up and framed. The Steele dossier was not, had nothing to do with anything true. It was completely fabricated. Jane, thank you again for the kind words. Thank you. Luke, I hope all is well. Ronald, hello. Greg, hello. So the Fed is expecting recession, whether it says the word or not. We are in a recession. We have 2 quarters of negative growth, and we're going to have a 3rd quarter of negative growth. But here, George W. Bush evoked executive privilege 6 times. Bill Clinton evoked it 14 times. I'm going to have to evoke executive privilege. Uranium Rabbit! Hi, H. Fantastic name. Awesome name. Hi, H. So much to worry about, especially yes, but Trump. It's insane. You're the best. Love it. Exactly. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Uranium Rabbit, you said it yourself. They have to focus on Trump because their track record is abysmal. We have a recession. We have 3 quarters of negative growth. We have interest rates going up during a contracting economy with inflation at 8 to 9%, an invasion in Europe that's only getting worse, and the greatest adversary known to man, aside from Trump, is actually going to get a lot of what they wanted. Uranium Rabbit, thank you again. Thank you. To my super chat, thank you tonight, everybody. I appreciate your support. If you want to go ahead and talk about most issues, we'll do so. But Uranium Rabbit, you're exactly right. That's the thing. They don't want the Democratic Party and media Uranium Rabbit, everybody here, is like a dysfunctional family with a million secrets and a million arguments and controversies and family disputes and horrible, family dynamics at a dinner table during Thanksgiving, where you're kind of like with the people that are like, just you're so angry at, but you have to just not say anything. And what media and Democrats and late night and loyalists do in the US government is that the entire country is one Thanksgiving table where everyone knows the family is completely dysfunctional. And Trump comes in, he's like, you know what? These mashed potatoes, these are the worst mashed potatoes ever. And the turkey is cold. And you know what? Honestly, everyone here is a hypocrite. And I'm going. And then the entire family says, "Oh my God, he's ruining the system. This family was wonderful. It was great. It was fantastic until the Orange Menace was adopted." And so, Uranium Rabbit, you're right. That's what this is all about. Steelers freak, hello. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. Every day that the walls were actually 20,000 light years away. When they're closing in, that means they're just moving I guess they're moving at us at a very slow rate of speed, and they're about 20 million miles away. So, Robert, hello. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. But every other president has evoked executive privilege, but God forbid Trump does. Oh my God. The FBI, by the way, cleared him initially of January 2 years ago. And President Obama said this was an article about Eric Holder utilizing executive privilege to prevent subpoena documents on the Fast and Furious operation. Here you have a list: George W. Bush, Clinton. Oh, don't bring my name up. I mean, and then you had, like, for some reason, I passed and I had to, like, I watched a couple seconds of MSNBC and Michael Cohen was on there. And I forgot who was it. I Caroline, thank you. It was like it was like um Michael Cohen. He has a New York accent like this, and it's really funny because I don't believe he ever spoke this way. But now he's like this champion for democracy against Trump, and he always said that he fell on the sword because of Trump. But the reality is that he had taxi medallions that were now eventually, after Uber and Lyft, were worth exactly the price of a discarded Cheeto wrapper. So, and then he was involved in criminal activity with banks. Not a civil case; it was a criminal case. But he's still on MSNBC talking about how Trump is. The walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. And um, it's like they keep on um, they keep on finding people that are felons to go ahead and tell the truth about Trump. It's like, well, um, these people actually committed crimes on their own. They, Trump did not. That's why he's not indicted. That's why they haven't indicted the man for anything. That's the issue. The issue here is that they are desperate. They despise. Like, here's what Trump needs to do, or Republicans need to. I mean, he kind of brings this up, but they despise him. It's a word that starts with H, and I don't want to use it. Uh, ends with E, but I don't want to use that word. But They absolutely despise him. They have only contempt for Trump. They have only contempt for this man. They despise him with every fiber, with the passion and intensity of 1,000 suns. They despise Trump. They don't like Trump. They despise him. And and what happens is that media actually thinks that this isn't just like an 8th grade class, a really dysfunctional 8th grade class going after somebody they don't like, because that's really what this is about. This is exactly Luke St. Martin. This is what's the book um with the kids on the island? What am I saying? Hold on one second. You know the book. Um, Lord of the Flies. It's basically Lord of the Flies, except they're going after a very powerful or very influential person. It's this primordial type of the worse that they act, the easier it is for them to justify their indefensible behavior because they think that they're doing it for good because Trump is the ultimate bully. So they're gonna engage in every dirty tactic possible because they're doing so for the benefit of humanity. This, by the way, is done by oftentimes by Democrats, and it's no problem. If you're an atheist, it's no problem. But it's done by people who have no concept of being judged after their lives. Is it if you have a concept of being judged after your life, then earthly laws don't really mean they mean enough to keep you in line. But at the end of the day, if you live your life where, hey, you know what, eventually you're going to get judged at the by a much higher power when it's all said and done, and when you're pushing up daisies. And so it's like these people go after Trump, they feel so virtuous. It's actually taken the place of religious doctrine. They don't argue about religion because they're too smart to, they think that believing in God is. I'm not saying all Democrats. This is not, I don't want to generalize. I'm talking about a certain percentage. And their idea of being truly good and virtuous is to take as gigantic a dump as possible on Donald Trump. If they can do it, exactly, justifiable corruption. If they can do that, exactly, and no PhD HA has the conch. This is the conch. I have the conch. Um, I mean, you learn, you kind of see this also, like in bureaucracies. You see this. You know what? Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Okay, there were moments before Caesar, before they took him out, where they were asking him to um just do this or do that. Like he could have averted his fate. He could have circumvented his fate, but he didn't do so because and nothing good takes place when you have a whole bunch of corrupt people or ambitious people um vying for power and influence. The interesting thing is that a big part of the disdain towards Trump is groupthink. Nobody wants to be known. Like, there are people who, if you call them a Trump supporter, and I understand that mentality because, like, when I was on the left, I remembered when people were like, you're a Trump supporter. I'm like, no, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. It's like the worst thing to be labeled if you're on the left. But the reality is that he was a good president, though. That's the bizarre thing about all of this. Trump was a very good president. He was a very good president. When you judge a president, we'll do 10 more minutes, ladies and gentlemen. When you judge a president by his economic performance and foreign policy, there was no better president in my lifetime. He was much better in terms of foreign policy than President Obama and economic policy. You can look at the numbers. And like you'd really have to slice and dice to make it seem that President Obama's economy was better than Trump's. You can try and say like, oh well, he inherited a good economy. Well, mashed potato brains inherited a V-shaped recovery, and now look where we're at. But Trump cut taxes, and then we had record low unemployment, and then we had record low in poverty, and then we had household median incomes at record highs. So it worked. His policy, where you could say, well, the taxes only help the wealthiest the most, but it helped everybody. It helped everybody. 8-2, Paul Ryan. But there's still like everyone got a tax break. Then this is hilarious. The same Democrats who shut down the economy and pumped trillions into the economy from the Fed and fiscal stimulus from Congress, they were worried about the deficit because of the Trump tax cuts, which spurred economic growth. And then you say like, well, like, oh well, they have no problem adding to the deficit or to the national debt. The difference is that when Trump did so, the economy grew, and it was a tax break. When Democrats added to the debt, they shut down economic activity and then just pumped the country full of stimulus and said, oh, look how wonderful we are. We're keeping you wonderful and safe. But ladies and gentlemen, also, like I said, today I did my first segment in a long time on H.A. Goodman's other channel. My first segment in a long time on the Stock Market Crash channel. The two shorts are doing fantastic, especially the one with the Honorable James Comey. And definitely look out for the short tomorrow. Let's see really quickly. Let's see. We'll do 7 more minutes. I'm running out of steam. The Fed is expecting recession, whether it says the word or not. It's like, we have a recession. We're in a recession. Paul Volcker had the courage, but interest rates were like at what, 8, 9, 10%? More than that. He's not going to raise interest rates that high. So, and what's the point? Tammy, thank you. What's the point other than just tanking the economy? So here we have the Fed. Okay, dot plot. He's raising interest rates, Powell, after saying there was no need to worry about inflation last year. Is this man an economist, or is he like just a Democratic politician? Is he just is he just a Democrat that will do anything that sounds good for the moment? I mean, you look at like Trump's economy and Biden's economy. Draw a T chart. It's not that difficult. But see, this infuriates the wonderful, morally superior among us. It infuriates everything they know to be true. Says that Trump is the embodiment of corruption, and we're better off without him in the Oval Office. Then you have these historians, and it's like these were like used to be like just nonpartisan historians, Thank you, Robert John. So far, you're 100% on the stock market. Exactly. Thank you, Robert. And the stock market, like I've been saying since September, we haven't even started the decline. You know when you go on a, like a roller coaster and you're like, oh, and then it's like, then you're like, kind of like, and then you like kind of go down a little bit, and then there's a drop in the roller coaster where it's right before the drop, ladies and gentlemen. It's funny when you're young. When you're young, roller coasters are fantastic, but when you're older, I don't find them that amusing anymore. I mean, who? Let's see. Let's ask this. Do you still like roller coasters now that you're no longer uh, younger? Let's assume for the people who aren't in their 20s. I just want to get it. Do you still like roller coasters now that you're no longer in your 20s? Here, just or teens, whatever. Let me know. What are your thoughts on roller coasters, people? 'Cause I have to say, I'm not like the biggest fan now that I'm, a bit a bit older. I wouldn't mind being on one, but oh, okay. I have a more adventurous audience than I am. All right. Wow, 50-50 on that. Rock and roll coasters. I love trucks. Nice. Wow, 50-50. So I guess about half the audience, still 50-50. I bet about half the audience is like, yeah, no problem. Um 30, oh, 15-15. Wow. It's an interesting topic. Nice, president elect. Um so yeah, now we have majority, so we'll just leave it the majority like it. It's going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, tell your friends about this channel. I have been trying to warn everyone, and it's just going to get worse. You have the perfect combination. They're obsessed with saving the planet while at the same time ignoring the financial repercussions of moving away from fossil fuels. We do not have an alternative to fossil fuels to run the economy. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to my super chat. I cannot thank you enough. Please go ahead, watch the shorts and my latest segments on H.A. Goodman's other channel, that's today, and the Stock Market Crash channel, that is today. My first segment in a long time, and I'm going to try to, from here on out, at least one segment a day on H.A. Goodman's other channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. Please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Look out for the short tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. For the shorts, if you want to give a super thanks to them also, that's greatly appreciated. Luke St. Martin, thank you for being so awesome as always. To my super chat people, thank you so very, very much, everyone. I cannot thank you enough. And Hidden for Time, Uranium Rabbit, everybody here, first, last, thank you so very, very much. Jane from the country, thank you. Everyone, thanks so much. Have a great night, everybody. Have a fantastic night, and I will see you tomorrow. I should have a live stream tomorrow evening.